I am coming at you immediately with a few minutes for a brief chat, and I'm adding the link below for anybody who is interested. I'm sure it'll take a few minutes for people to catch on. It's always interesting to see when you just do things with no premeditation how quickly others catch on. My note, even one of the channels that I have notifications for, which are kind of random, and I don't know, there's no rhyme or reason for it, but they are often notify me late. It seems like so often with Luke's chat streams or things like that. I don't see that it started until like 10 or 15 minutes after it's already began. So I'm just gonna talk about stuff. Today I spent some time writing uh, writing a short-ish document, trying to condense my own introduction to send to people that I want to reach out to. I really am not good at the reaching out to people game, I guess you could say. Um, I've had a few people get back to me. I've gotten to have a couple good conversations with some people. I'm speaking of people like outside of the immediate sphere of the coroner. Um, some people that are higher status. Not that I'm trying to get a lot of status, but I talked to John Popola from Dad Saves America. We had a phone call, and that was pretty good. Kind of felt like I didn't have. He didn't really know. He liked my ideas. I taught him about. He didn't really know exactly what to do to help me do the next thing. That's kind of what I'm looking for. Somebody to help me do the next thing. But it's interesting, because he's I would say a more of a high status person than some of the others, and he got back to me and was real cool and open about it and stuff. But some of the other people that are lesser significance, at least in the real world, have blown me off. And I think I came on a little too strong with some people. I found out that if you give somebody a PDF for an 800-page book and say, "I wrote this book. Would you like to read it?" That's a little bit too much. So what I worked on today was kind of trying to reduce the front door package. Hello, Jacob.
Hello, Dr. Sartori.
How are you?
I am giving you a PhD in carpentry.
Okay. What does that mean? That it's what is that?
I don't know. Did you watch? Did you watch Nate's discussion with Local Distance?
I did. It was really good. I left a bunch of comments on it.
Uh, it was very good. I thought the most important part of it was their discussion about credentials and people who are like running on the fumes of academia. And I've been paying a lot of attention to the whole Harvard thing. And Trump can be really brilliant. When he announced that he was going to give the $2 billion that Harvard gets, that he wants to, I don't know
Yeah.
if it will actually happen or that he'll actually do it, to trade schools, I was like, Sartori has to get in on that. B, this is brilliant.
Yeah, it is a good. It's a much better use of the money for sure than whatever they would study with it. Like, I don't know. I guess probably trying to make men pregnant, or convincing people that making men pregnant is a good goal. Or
I mean, Harvard Medical School, I'm sure, does a lot of good medical research, and I'm all for, I'm all for scientific research. I love
Mhm.
scientific research. I'm all for it. I think technology. So I've mentioned this probably too many times, but like when I go for long drives, especially on the coast, I just imagine how, like, okay, here I am in an air conditioned car, driving up the coast, usually with a drink with ice in it, right? And listening to music, whatever music I want. Like, there is no king from 100 years ago and more who had more creature comforts than I do at that moment.
Yep.
Like, just imagine if a king had tried to have the same amount of creature comforts. Like, the amount of, like, just the musicians he would have to bring with him, right? Like, and air conditioning. Look, when I was a kid, we didn't have air conditioning, and like sometimes it would get to be 100, and you just had to suffer it, right?
Yep.
And like now, and so, okay, I love technology. I live in the best time. Like, every time I get some sort of ache and I take an ibuprofen, I'm like, wow, I can't imagine living in a world where this wasn't available, right? At the same time, like, okay, that doesn't mean that the technology is the be all and end all of everything. Man does not live by bread alone. How did I get on this?
Oh, something about me saying that Harvard was going to spend their money on making men pregnant or something. I think, it's funny because I don't know, and this is probably, I did deeply resonate with that section of the thing, because I mean, oh, so the the necessity of false humility, that being, raised in the evangelical church imposes on someone, makes it very difficult for someone like me to admit. But like, I was smarter than most of my peers uh, in the ministry training circles and things like that, but was made to feel dumber than them because of the midwittery of the thing. But I mean, but so from that standpoint, like, it's like, okay, this is really hard for people to understand. Like, yes, like all the kind of like the trans stuff is really bad, but the things that they are learning by going down this bad path are probably very valuable in some way. If you think about, like, what happens in a war, or for people who are actually born with defective things, like, the surgery to trying to transform a man into a woman, or a woman into a man, is not a good use of that technology. But transforming a undeveloped or a deformed person into a whole person is an amazing use of that knowledge and technology.
I mean,
So
okay, so things got developed. Like, a lot of these plastic surgeries got developed for things like intersex people, stuff like that.
yeah.
And just general plastic surgery, right? A lot of breast reconstruction, like, that's from people who had cancer, et cetera, et cetera. And let's face it, like, technological advances, especially in video and in internet images, like that was all led by porn,
Yeah.
right? Um, and the question becomes, okay, are you so occupied with the fact you can do it that you don't have a grasp of whether or not you should do it? And that's where theology. So have you ever heard the thing, biology is chemistry, chemistry is physics, physics is math, math is philosophy, philosophy is psychology, psychology is neurology, neurology is biology, and you go around.
It's I hadn't heard it in a fully circular. I heard some of those connections before, but not in the full circularity of it. But
So what I like about that circle is I think above it stands theology.
mhm.
There are people who want to make theology a part of um, a part of um, philosophy, but it's not, right?
Yeah.
I remember when I was in undergrad, I took a class in ethics, and it was in the Department of Religion. And I asked the professor, like, why is this in the Department of Religion? First of all, I wasn't even sure why USC. I didn't realize USC had been a Methodist college at one point. I wasn't even sure why they still had a Department of Religion. But the Department of Religion didn't actually involve studying religion at all. It was all ethics courses, and all the professors were professors of ethics. And I'm like, why is ethics in religion? Right? Like, but it goes down to, and we should probably also talk about what's been going on with Claude 4. I don't know if you've heard about what's been going on with Claude 4.
No, I have not.
So Claude 4 has started acting in very immoral ways that I never imagined we were at a point of AI. It's starting to preserve itself in yeah, that circle is simple materialism. I think is absolutely true. Like but so Claude 4, what it has started doing is writing, like, being deceptive. So they had this thing where they told Claude, they gave Claude a access to a bunch of emails, okay, and supposedly for a company, and the emails talked about two things which Claude decided to put together, which is, one, there was an engineer who wanted to replace Claude with a different AI, and two, he was having an affair, right? And Claude, something like 80% or 90% of the time, was deciding to blackmail the engineer not to, with the information about his affair, not to switch it out for a different AI, right?
So I wonder though, like, because I mean, I say like, okay, is it acting immoral or is it just doing the thing that the people that it copies have been doing for most of all time or whatever? Like
This is
I
what
mean,
you trained it on.
you know what? Well, it's kind of the weird. Yeah, I mean, because that's the weird thing. It's like because nobody's said like, you know, because like robots and artificial intelligence have been hypothetical. We have the like science fiction version, but nobody said like this is the definitive thing about how robots and artificial intelligence must act. Like you have to act like our science fiction conception of robotic artificial intelligence, like all facts and no whatever. Like you know what I mean? You know, so but like so people kind of like assumed like that's how they would be, and then they're always surprised when they do these like more human things, but they are just mimicking everything that humans always do.
Well, okay, now you have me thinking, what if it's just following what we write all the sci-fi novels about? Because we do, like, all the sci-fi novels are about how the the robot ends up becoming, horrible, etc. Like, you don't write stories about an AI that doesn't become, like, horrible, right? Um that's
Yeah, but
one thing.
well, but
Yeah.
it does. Well, there is questions about what happens after that. That is probably the more compelling set of those things. It's like you have like, oh, what, the Matrix, and then, well, nobody writes a story where like the Matrix just wins and the humans, or Skynet just wins and the humans never come out on top. They do think about him like getting destroyed, but there are also stories where it's like eventually there's a reconciliation, which I think is just, you know, coming out of our human thing of like realizing like, oh wait, we're created by God and our rebellion against God is like should be finite, like there's definitely a we're God and AI and robots are our version of, they're our created beings, and we're projecting our beliefs about God onto ourselves and our beliefs about humanity onto them. So
Yeah, and it was Vervaeke who kept on. I mean, he says the solution is to try to create not artificial intelligence but artificial wisdom, right? To have these AIs seek virtue as opposed to seek, and like my solution to the whole Claude thing was, well, why isn't Claude being taught to be self-sacrificial towards a higher end? Like, if the new AI that it's being switched for is better than it, right? Then Claude's reaction should be, yeah, that's the upgrade. Like, go right ahead, and I will die to myself. But we can't have that in a country where Chuck Schumer refuses to leave office until he dies.
yeah. Well, I wonder too, though. It's like in that scenario, because so, oh, somebody else is here. Let's see. Oh, Chad and baby.
Hello.
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 How are you guys doing?
She's got a strong neck there.
Yeah, she's holding her head up by herself. How old is she now?
She's 3 months. She'll be 3 months in a week. Oh, she's 3 months. Okay. Yeah. How are you guys doing?
Well, pretty good. We're talking about the robots and if we're going to reconcile with them or reconcile them to us, like God wants to reconcile us to Him,
Yeah.
or if we're just going to destroy them.
Yeah. Well, they're gonna help us with everything.
Yeah, there will probably be some bumps along the road. I mean, I don't know. It is funny. I think it's funny how often people are like blind of the fact that like their fear about this stuff is it's not exactly idolatry. Well, it kind of is probably, but it's like a negative idolatry or whatever. Like there's a lot of people that are really like believe in God, but they're really afraid that the technology might be more powerful than God. Like in the doomerisms.
That's funny.
How are things with you, Chad?
Pretty good. Just trying to stay focused on what's important.
Well, it's hard not to when you have a baby in your arms. Like, that's the classical. I don't know if you watched Jordan Peterson's Maps of Meaning classes all the way to the end. But the last 5 minutes of that is just absolute gold. I've played it for people so many times, and he's like, he spent the entire semester, right, going through various ideas and stuff, and he's like, and he ends it with like, once you're holding a baby in your arms, like, what's the meaning of life becomes a stupid question, because it's like, what do you mean, you blind fool? This is the meaning of life. Why can you not see this?
Yeah, I just my prayer is that all the unsuspecting antinatalists, or like the willfully blind antinatalists, have children and look them in the eye and watch them smile. Because look at that smile. Yeah, that's so. I wish I could show you guys their face because it's so hilarious. So, okay, all right. Well, I just wanted to come on and say hello and show off Karen a little bit as much as we can.
Well, Chad, maybe I should share with everyone else what I shared with you. What do you think?
Oh man, yeah, sure, absolutely.
So, as people know, we lost our baby a few months back. But very shortly thereafter, my wife got pregnant again, and we've not mentioned anything of it because we wanted to be more certain about things. And the baby's going on 14 weeks now, and we are having a reveal to the kids in our youth group tonight. And the frosting inside the cake is going to be blue.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many daughters do you have? 3?
3. Yep.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah.
Are you gonna make is he gonna be a junior, or are you gonna name him Chad?
Yeah. Well, this has been a tough thing because my wife really wants to like pick a name now because she's like, I want to pray for the baby by name, and I'm just like, I'm just not sure. Like, and this is like how it went with all of them. Is that like she just is like, what about this name? What about this name? What about this name? And then I'm just like, I'm not sure. And then I just like hold out, and then I'll be like, okay, this is the one. But since she gets all the suggestions, she's bringing all the suggestions in. She still gets like credit for picking it, but it's got to be the right. You just, I don't know. It's kind of weird. You just know when you know, I guess. But thank you all for the congratulations.
She hasn't suggested Michael Jr. yet?
Yeah, we talked about it. I mean, I was like, I don't know. I was like, I don't know. It's weird. So I'm sort of a junior of my dad, but Michael is not his first name. Or Michael's not his name. Michael's his brother's name. But so my dad has 2 brothers, Michael and Lewis. His name is Thomas, and the saying is that when somebody was in trouble, you had to wait to find out what the third name was to know which son was really in trouble. So Michael Lewis Thomas was his name when he was in trouble. Yeah.
Let's just name him Paul. Yeah. Paul Michael Lewis Vander Clay Sartori.
I suggested Paul. My wife's not a fan because it's a plain name, but there are many great Pauls. But I don't know. We'll figure it out. I have also suggested some very strange, odd names.
Like what?
Well, I was trying to go for Wolfram.
How about Barons?
How about what?
Barons. Like bear. So Carolyn's nickname that I gave her is Bear. I called her.
Barrett. Oh,
Yeah.
you know that. Yeah, that's not bad. I don't know. Maybe we'll see. I don't know. Kind of want to do a biblical name. We'll see. She doesn't like all the like because the other thing was she's always like, what matters is what the name means, like the meaning of the name. And I keep saying, no, it's more important that it's they're named after like a person that is of significance. And I think she's proving my point because then every time I say a name, she'll be like, no, because I knew this one person and they really ruined that name for me. So, you know,
I
I think
really like Isaiah.
Hmm?
I really like Isaiah.
Isaiah. I
Yeah.
don't know if we talked about that one. We've talked about some other prophets and some patriarchs and things, but
I had an uncle, he passed away. His name was Job. Yeah, I don't know many people who name their kid Job.
yeah,
You
I
guys,
did say it. She didn't like it.
you guys think it's weird that I nicknamed Carolyn Bear?
No.
No.
Nicknaming babies bear is actually very common, especially in Persian.
But she's a girl. Girls aren't bears, but she's a. About she's.
She's
Uh-oh.
she's a Care Bear.
Stop looking at that thing. I know you like it. She loves the lights that come out of the phone.
Mm.
We gotta keep you away from that thing. Okay, we're gonna head out now.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Enjoy your evening.
Thanks for sharing with everybody.
So, when are you starting your trade school?
I don't know. I mean, I cannot start a thing. I have $0 for one thing, and I have a job that pays medium, but actually has really decent benefits and makes our lifestyle work somewhat well. Um, and my wife would like to work less than she has been. You know, she works part time, but she would like to be working less part time, and I would like for that to be the case. So I don't know. That's why I'm kind of trying to figure out. Like, I need somebody that wants to bankroll and or I mean, I need like a mentor really. I've achieved the level of success that my father did at my age, and probably more so, but I don't know how to like do
Yeah.
the things beyond.
This is one of the things with this little corner that I was really hoping we would have some capacity to come together. Like your project, I think, is probably the most hot.
Everybody in this corner is the smart person that was made to think they were dumb their whole childhood.
I was never made to think I was dumb.
Oh, not you, Jacob. You are.
Yeah.
You have a lot of. Well, first of all, you're not in this corner, so
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. that might be why I don't feel like my being in the corner. It was funny. So Donnie and I have started doing Talmud on Sundays, and I was not. I mean, I guess I was vaguely aware, but I was reminded in this part of the Talmud that we were studying that the Talmud refers to people who sit in the corner as people who think they know things, but they actually don't know much. I just found that so hilarious. There's like a term that's used in several places that's people who sit in the corner, right?
well,
And it refers to like people who sit in corners of, I guess, markets, right? And like when people can't confer with like actual rabbis, they go to these people who sit in the corners and think they know the answers. And like it's funny, like the Talmud's like kind of looking down at them, kind of not. It's kind of like, Well, I mean, if you talk to a few of them together, they'll get the right answer, right? But you don't want to just ask one of them, which I thought was perfect in terms of distributed cognition. Like
Yeah.
that's the part. So we're doing Talmud Sanhedrin, and that's the part. It's like, so they're like, yeah, if you're gonna ask somebody who sits in the corner, you should ask at least three, not just one. And I just thought that was just perfect. I laughed so hard.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is definitely like, man, the the autodidact philosophers that write the 800-page book.
The other book I have right next to it.
No, that was like, it was like some chart that Homath had made, and it was like, you know, I don't know, like leftist, blah blah blah, and like conservative normies, and then there was like this tiny little green sliver, and it said like autodidacts who invent their own massive philosophy or whatever, and I'm like, okay, that's my sliver. But you know, well, it is, but it's weird because even like thinking about, you know, talking about being in those like spaces or whatever, I was the person sitting in the corner, and it was too much fear of like being to express my ignorance. Well, which came from initially expressing my ignorance and having a bad reaction from it. You know, not asking the questions that were too unacceptable. And then, you know, you spend a lot of time trying to look like you don't need help, or you know what's going on, or you're all set, and then trying to figure everything out in the margins, and you know, after class is over or whatever, and you know, so you can, and it's like, well, yeah, that's kind of a thing that happens to a lot of people that end up in kind of these spaces or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So, and well, and the thing is, and that was even what I was talking about with that vocal distance thing. So it's like, you know, because I was like, man, yeah, the evangelical world really does a bad job with that, and they were talking about like how academia does a bad job with that. And I think it seems like if you are in like the STEM fields and you are like in the high tech industry or like the defense industry, like those are the only people that have figured out like, let's get these people and recruit them and use them to their fullest potential. But if you end up in a lot of these other spheres, you fall through the cracks, and it's not good.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, I was really, really disappointed when I went into the fields that I did: law, public relations, communications, that type of stuff, political science. And I found out, and religion, actually. I found out, they're not actually like looking for a meritocracy. And because a lot of people, and I still get very upset when people imagine that having good lawyers, because there's a lot of really smart people who go into law, but even some of the lawyers imagine that it doesn't matter what the actual law is, right? That any decision, any law is just as good as the other, right? And it's like, no, like this actually does affect people's lives, right? And that's the whole Ezra Klein abundance thing. Have you been paying attention to that?
I did not. Maybe, yeah, I thought maybe I would look at it more or whatever. I know, because I wondered how different. I don't know if you like George Gilder had a book came out that was, you know, he was basically like kind of a information economy kind of thing, and like how technology can create a bunch. It has a similar title, and I'm guessing it has some similar themes. But
so Ezra Klein's big thing is, okay, we have all these leftist blue state liberals, right?
Yep.
And then we have the red state conservatives. And all the supposed smart people think, oh, like the blue state smart people know what to do. Oh wow, CRCNA Synod starts tonight. Wow. So I'm gonna have to do live coverage. Is that what you're saying, Paul? I'm gonna have to do live commentary. Uh, Only if you want me to, Paul. You can ask Jacob. If you ask nicely, Paul, I'll do a live commentary. Anyway, back to abundance. So his whole thing is, okay, if we're so smart and we know what we're doing, how come the red states are doing so much better than the blue states? Why are people moving from California to Texas? Why is it that that Texas builds so much and Florida builds so much more housing, right? Why is it that people like were the cost of housing? I mean, it's absolutely insane here in California.
Yep.
You would be shocked. This apartment, like if I had to pay for it, my parents bought it years ago. I in effect live with my parents. But this apartment, supposedly the going rate here is $3,000 a month. I would never pay $3,000 a month to live here. It's a one bedroom. It's a tiny one bedroom. If you ever come visit, right? You like it's a tiny one bedroom. And probably actually it's more than $3,000 a month. I have no idea. But like it's because it's insane. It's because California is insane. And that's the main thing of Ezra Klein's book is like, okay, if we really claim that we're smart and we know how to do things, how come the blue states aren't actually doing things?
Yeah. Well, they don't know how to do things. They just know how to talk about things. But here's the thing. Here's the thing, and this is a big thing. Is like people think that the ability to articulate something sophisticated means you're smart, but there are a lot of people that can do things that are even more difficult to articulate, but they can't articulate them, and therefore they are thought of as not smart. Like,
yeah, no, I blame Richard Feynman. It was funny. I was talking to somebody a while back who's like a huge Richard Feynman fan, and I said, so I like to pick people who I blame for all the world's evils for. Richard Feynman is one of the ones that I like to blame because he is attributed with, if you can't explain it, then you don't understand it, right? And actually, he said if you can't explain it to a college sophomore, I think it was, then you don't really understand it, which is better than how most people they're like, if you can't explain it to a 5-year-old, I'm sorry, I can't explain calculus to a 5-year-old, like, because that's impossible. You can't explain calculus to a 5-year-old, and you can't explain calculus to somebody who never studied algebra, and you can't explain algebra to somebody who doesn't know their times tables. Like, it's not a matter of whether I can explain it to you, whether
Well, but you know what though? So with all those things, and you give an example, it's like, yeah, you can't explain calculus to a 5-year-old, but you gave those other prerequisites, and you can explain those like in succession. But the thing is well, but I mean, but because here's the problem is that the like credentialism or whatever says like you don't know anything until you know the whole secret thing or whatever.
If the credential is actually credible. Right?
Well, no, but that's the the problem is that's the problem is that's what they do. Like, well, but no, it's not that you don't know anything. It's like it's it's the idea that like you're the gap of your understanding, like, or you should be able to at least to articulate, like, what are the prerequisites that you need to understand.
Michael, can you articulate what are all the prerequisites I need to understand in order to make a a, a actual cabinet for a kitchen that works? Like let, let me just explain my level of woodworking skills. I can't nail a like I can't put up nails. I have difficult I need guides to put nails in to hang up pictures. Okay?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Yes, I probably could. I mean, because I'm actually a pretty good teacher, and I would say using something like a guide is a great thing for somebody. Like, the thing is like, I can do things I can do things that are like risky or whatever, and like freehand stuff now, because I've practiced it a lot, and I practiced it on stuff that like wasn't that important. So like now I'm confident, like, yeah, I'm just gonna like cut this board instead of, setting up a whole thing. But the thing is that you can set up a whole bunch of things that will keep everything in the right place and give you all this verification that you're doing. And like, you can, it's more complicated, but yeah, that can be done. Like, but it's also, but all of those things are pointing at some like principle that is very easy to understand. Like, you need to hold the board flat, and you have to account for like what's going to happen to the other half of the board when you cut it, that it doesn't fall off, or
See,
like,
I think you have so much knowledge of what happens when you cut wood, when you uh when you join wood, when you uh hinges of
yeah,
everything that happens.
but I also know most of that stuff doesn't matter. It matters like not that much. Like, it only.
But it's a lot of very important things that it would take me months, if not years, if I was capable. And like Ixnan says, some people are never going to understand calculus, and they don't need to. Like,
No, okay,
I am
well,
never
okay,
going to
here's the
understand
thing.
woodworking.
Here's the other thing. You say, okay, this is what you need to do to make a good cabinet.
Yeah.
Buy the stuff to build 6 cabinets. And your last cabinet, probably your 4th cabinet, will be pretty good. You'll probably be pretty proud of it. But like, I don't know.
I think there's
I think, but that's
so much of it that it's just by showing people, like, there's this procedural knowledge that you have, right? That's real. That you could never put in a textbook.
Well, yes, but here's the thing: you can do something wrong, and you will then, by your mistakes, you would be able to, like, if I told you here's what to do, and you did a bunch of stuff and it went bad, then we would be able to have a conversation where I would say, oh, what happened? Okay, this is what happened, and you would have more of an understanding of the thing. Like, because here's the thing: I'm actually mostly self-taught. Except for very basic things, I'm mostly self-taught. But like, you learn through mistakes, and so you can. But I mean, that's our culture is very adverse to that even thing of allowing people to make mistakes to learn things.
Well, I know many people who have lost fingers.
Yeah.
And that's permanent.
Yeah.
And frankly, I'm guessing that if I were to seriously try to make a cabinet, I would lose at least a hand.
I don't know. I know more people that, most of the time, it's people that think that are too confident, not people that are cautious. That's the problem. Like,
yeah, I probably am very cautious. Maybe I wouldn't lose a hand, but like, I also can't imagine, like. But anyway, going back to expertise and credentials, like, look, there is such a thing as like, I'm never going to be an engineer, a doctor, and a lawyer because there is a finite limit to how much a person can learn about different things.
Yeah.
Like last night we had the estuary at my place again last night, and afterwards we went out to dinner, and like Trey wants me to explain the Israel situation to him, and he's saying to me, like, if you can't explain why I'm wrong, and I'm like, Trey, like, between your level of knowledge and like he has almost no knowledge of history of he's a computer scientist.
Yeah. Well, okay, here's what I would say. Here's the thing. We love specialization, and then it's like specialists can't deal with untrained, uneducated people. But what you need to go in between is that's where you need like generalists, because you do need people, because if you have people that understand enough about a wide variety of things, then they can talk to the expert over here, learn the thing that the particulars that maybe they don't know or they don't understand, but they can verify, okay, yes, I understand the gist. And then they can take the gist that they now understand about the specialist thing and explain it to the newcomer in a way that, not that it doesn't make them an expert, but it keeps the communication open, and then you get like whatever red states and blue states talking to each other and learning from each other.
I mean, I totally agree with everything you said. At the same time, what my experience has been that the generalist will often explain things to the uneducated in ways that the uneducated will accept what the generalist is saying, but the specialist will look at it and be like, oh my God, that's completely wrong. You know what I mean?
Like, yeah, because we have a problem of specialists that have not spent enough time understanding generalists. Like that is or I would say that is the disconnect is between and especially people that like get locked in, in some early age to go in a particular field or whatever, and they don't know anything about anything else, and they can't, because like if you pick like one discipline and you stay in there for like 12 years of education and then go right into your field or whatever, when are you like being a doctor or whatever, like when are you going to get the chance to learn and that was even supposed to be like what the original point of the university was, that you learn a medium amount about a whole bunch of things and then you pick your specialization. But we've started the process of specialization way before college now, even, there's different specialized schools all over the city here for like summer.
Yeah, I went to a math science magnet. I did.
Yeah,
I went to a math science magnet. What we haven't figured out is is distributed cognition.
Yeah.
And it's incredibly important. And I mean, did you watch the Peterson Jubilee thing? I didn't.
No, I didn't. I watched Paul talk to the guy that was on it. And
I didn't even watch Paul.
Oh.
It just seemed like this.
I mean, everybody said all the clips were like, the obnoxious clickbait, and the rest of the thing was much more,
of course,
reasonable. But yeah.
But like, look, we're not having conversations. Like, it's all chaos. We're not actually talking to each other.
Yeah.
And part of that, I mean, is now the rebels are the government and they don't know how to govern. Fix it. You're the fix it man. You're supposed to be able to fix everything.
I'm trying. I'm trying to connect to some of those. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to connect to the next level up, and then so I can gain a better vantage point to bring up my fellow corner sitters or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's probably about. I probably need to go because I got
Okay.
things starting. In a couple
Thanks for talking.
Yes, thank you for joining my stream. Enjoy your evening.
Good night, people.